Suntem în ultima zi a programului Lunii Ucrainei din Europa, din Chișinău, și ne-am gândit că acum ar fi momentul să facem o încheiere a acestui program și poate să ne împărtășim unele impresii sau gânduri vis-a-vis de această lună care a trecut și care a fost foarte intensă pentru majoritatea din noi, cei implicați, dar și pentru public, pentru că a fost destul de mult conținut și de film, și vizual, și activități cu discuții.
The film, its story revolves around five Ukrainians who were cast in an experimental production of Hamlet. It's a play that is very loosely based on Hamlet and also on this postmodern play called The Hamlet Machine. And it's basically it's a play that is being created by the actors of this play with their own traumatic experiences of the war in Donbass. And this cast is very different, like the people who partake, they come from different walks of life, and they all resonate with Hamlet's famous soliloquy of to live or not to live, basically. That's how they appropriate it in this context. One of them being very much involved in, almost literally involved in the war, who got to pose this question literally, while other people constantly face these dilemmas to stay or to go, which make it a very existential film. What the directors wanted foremost with the film, besides this exercise in like this theatrical exercise, was to to portray the fate of young Ukrainian generation, the first born in a free and independent Ukraine shaped by the Maidan revolution.
Його питання бути чи не бути? У чому більше гідності? Скоритись ударом долі легти під тіла, чи околом зустріти чорні хвилі нещастя тим спинити їх? Заснути, померти і більш нічого.
Yes.
For a great film.
Thanks.
It's hard to say I have enjoyed it because there's a lot of pain but I really liked watching it because it's a great film for me. The first question I had, it was actually a question Diana also had.
Yeah,
the one about the chicken and the egg. Which one was the first? Was it?
Yes.
Who came with the idea? Was it you and Elwira, or was it Rosa with the theater play? Yeah, if you can
Okay, yeah. So maybe I just shortly introduce myself. That actually we did this film together with Elwira, but she couldn't be able to join the discussion, and I'm also co-director and DOP of the film, and it was already our third movie we did, and we are mainly doing films in the Eastern Europe. We are both coming from Poland, but living in Berlin, and always trying to encourage viewers in Germany and Western Europe to Eastern European topics, which is sometimes not easy, but we are doing our best. And in this case, coming back to your question, this was actually we had from the beginning this idea to make a movie about the Maidan generation in Ukraine, about these people who were pretty young, but they were but their life were torn apart during the revolution and the war in Donbass, and when we started the research, it was 2017, when we probably the very first time after Maidan in Ukraine, we knew that we just need to have some, you know, it was already a couple of years after Maidan, so some years after the war in Donbass, or the war of course was going on, but we were thinking about maybe to make to initiate a theater play, just to give the protagonist possibility to make this travel back in time to the moments when they were taking their decisions about how to be involved, or as many of them at the beginning said, you know, about this Hamlet's dilemma, you know, to leave Ukraine or to stay or to fight or not, or you know, to engage yourself in this political process, or maybe not. So we actually initiated this theater play, but it was kind of cooperation with Rosa, because Rosa was also teaching with us for the protagonist, and at the end there was also theater play presented in Ukraine and in Poland. It was unfortunately during the pandemic time, so it was not so many live performances, but many online screens of the theater play itself, which was at the end, you know, of this project. We have these two different arts, let's say, products. You have a film and a theater play, and the theater play, I mean, the preparation for a theater play, they create kind of backbone for our film.
And why was the choice for theater particularly? To tell
Yeah, it's an interesting question, because on one hand, theater has also something visual, because it's always also, you can also, you know, there is also many of examples of documentary theater or theater which is working with emotions or with traumas. So it's also this, you also have theater plays or theater projects which are you know, dealing with or trying to be kind of art therapy, and of course there was some idea that we can combine it, but there was always also this doubt if theater it's a completely different medium, you know, and if you can use theater for the movie, because there are, I think there are some examples already. There were already films made in the theater or shot in the theater, but I think that always it was always for us a kind of topic to discuss, how to use this different way of working, different way of emotion, different way of expression in film, and then we decided that we will use only the beginning of the theater preparation, because as far as they start to work with the text, with the particular theatrical let's say attitude, or some theatrical I mean, not working with the script or with positions, it was for us not interesting anymore. So actually in the film you only have the very beginning, when it's only, I mean, 80% of the material is from the very first 2 weeks, when they need to open up on stage and speak about, for the very first time, about these emotions, or trying to recollect these events from the past, and we also focus on the dynamics in the group. So the theater as theater, I mean, this final stage performance was never for us a goal, you know, but it was more like the way how to get there. It was for us more like the the idea that okay, we can follow this process. But let's follow this process and try to see how interesting it will be for the movie. But on the other hand, we also knew that we are going to shoot in the real life with our protagonist away from the theater stage, and in the very beginning we were even thinking to be like maybe the bigger part of the film would be not at the theater stage, but then after this whole process we had the feeling that so many interesting happened there that we can maybe construct the film really on this theater stage. On this process of creating the stage performance.
I was very curious about the process. Was it all Rosa, or were you also involved in taking decisions regarding the rehearsals process?
It's an interesting question because we are coming back again to our cooperation, because our idea was in the very beginning that we don't need to. We wanted from the very beginning make kind of cooperation with Ukrainian artists, and through Elwira contacts we got to know Rosa, but it was for us also very crucial to give her. We came with this idea, and also with this idea to make very basically, to make a kind of search for the modern Hamlets in Ukraine. But then, the way how to deal with it, what kind of performance you are going to make, it was everything Rosa's decisions. We only had influence on the casting, so on the main cast of the theater play. But everything what was happening on stage, it was her domain, let's say. It was because we knew that if we will involve ourselves, then that every director, probably stage director, will also lose his or her motivation. So for us, it was important on one hand, to create this space for work, but then lead the work, and then we were just only observing this the whole process.
Okay.
Can you talk a bit about the casting process? I've read in an interview that it took you like 2 years or even more to select the right actors. Were they also all actors, or were they?
No, they were mixed, but it was also a crucial moment. In the whole production, because imagine that you are coming to a foreign country, because we are from Poland. It was for us a kind of research. Was also the process of the research was also process of discovering Ukraine and getting to know the country better. And imagine that you just have to. We are coming there with this idea of okay, let's initiate a stage performance and this and that. But at the end, you have to find the people who are participating in it, and you have to convince them to invest, 5 weeks of their lives to be on stage, to tell about their experience on stage, and then to be part of the movie also. So it was really very challenging, because many people we met were not really ready for this kind of experience, and we met many different people from different parts of Ukraine. But finally, we decided after this long process on this 5 protagonists, and at the end we are also open. We also make an open call on Facebook, and then make some random people. And for example, that's the way how we met Katya. It was she just her sister wrote us, but because her sister was also serving in the military units, she wrote us that she's ready to come for the meeting, and then she came with her sister, and it was Katya, and then we decided that the Katya will stay also in the team, and so it was quite long and difficult process, and each of the protagonists also different motivations of participating in it. And for example, just to give you an insight, that for Slavik, it was for the very beginning, for him it was kind of art therapy, and he had this idea, we came with this idea that he's going to go through his all difficult experience on stage, just so as to get more distance to it. So so it was for him very clear, and for different others it was differently, because we also had Oksana and Roman. They were working actually in theaters, so they already knew how to create stage performance and what kind of challenges they are. But so it was kind of different mixed motivation. But as I mentioned before, it was really difficult to find people who were really willing to join this project, to open up, and to be part of it for such a intensive time on stage and also in the movie.
So about the casting, was it you and Elwira or Rosa more?
It was also mixed, because, for example, Rosa suggested Oksana because she worked with Oksana already, and Rosa also had some. She also knew Slavic, because Slavic for many years ago he wanted to be an actor, and he was applying for a theater school, and then he met him once or twice. I mean, he'd been there for half a year or something, and then he quit. So she connected us to Slavic, and then I think for him it was also kind of coming back to this dream which you never managed to do, to come back on stage for a moment, or for a couple of weeks, or for some time, and so it was also kind of cooperation, this search of protagonists. But at the end, I mean, the final decision we consulted with Rosa, but we spent lots of time to find other three. Except Slavic and Oksana, it was these other three protagonists, and we spent really, we were traveling a lot in Ukraine, meeting people, I
was also very curious. I understood everybody went through therapy before the laboratory, the rehearsal process began. But I was curious, was there a therapist on standby just in case?
Actually, it's also an interesting issue, because before we start everything, we met a guy who was working in also a theater which was established after Maidan, after the war in Donbass. This theater in Kiev was called Theater of Refugees, or IDPs, internally displaced person. It was mainly people from Donbass who were, or Crimea, who just had to escape, and one theater director came with the idea, okay, maybe we can help these people and make a kind of maybe they can donate their stories, and also we can try to work with it and make a kind of and also what was important, I mean, in that case and also in our case, that these stories of the people who, I mean, who experience on themselves this difficult experience, they will also heard in Ukraine, and they will also be told. We met a psychologist who was working with the IDPs at that time, and we were speaking with him about his experience, how to work with unprofessional actors, with people who are traumatized, with people who, for example, lost their relatives during the beginning of the war, or during the crisis in Donetsk, in Donbass, excuse me, and he gave us a couple of impressions, and we also made it quite clear during our work to all the protagonists that everyone can say stop or can leave the stage in any moment he or she needs. And you can even see this moment in the movie with Slavic, when he starts to speak about his own dilemma, and then he says to leave or to die, and then he's quitting the stage because it was for him too much. So we also didn't interfere. It was also, I mean, the idea. I mean, the main idea of this kind of theater was to create, or is to create, kind of place where they also can feel comfortable, that no one is forcing anyone to do anything. But we didn't have any kind of psychologist with us on stage or in our team.
Okay. So you had the process before, and you had this safe, not words, but safe.
Yeah, some kind of basic safety features for this kind of projects. Yeah.
Thank you.
We see that the film is actually it's very much structured around the participants, like the character exploration, but there's not really a real sense of what the production is like. I mean, we see in the end a few scenes from the productions, from the actual theater play, but it's actually that the rehearsal is the show in this film, and it's a really interesting mix between. I mean, it's a beautiful interplay between theater and film here, and I wanted to ask you, how do you see the play and the film reinforcing each other conceptually, but also like as a methodology?
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't have one without another. You know, it was quite clear, and also I think I also mentioned this before that we were on the beginning a bit skeptical about theater in film because as I said, it's a different medium, and when we wrote the proposal for financing of the film, we even construct the whole treatment of the movie with the ending just before the premiere. You know, it was a bit, let's say, theoretical, but you know, that just to underline that we are only focused on the process. So the idea was, I mean, as often in documentary, you know, we have some kind of idea and then everything changes, you know, in the process, or many things change. But the idea was to end the film with the moment when, just before this finally the curtain in the theater will open up, you know. So but we decided at the end to show a short. The ending of the theater play, because it was also relevant to the discussion about the flag, about these national symbols, but I think it was, in my opinion, right now, after like 1 year after finishing the movie, I think it was possible to make it, and it could be done and work out. I think only because first the protagonists, they asked us a lot and they open up. This made this base on one hand, and on another hand, I think it was also the right time to pick up this kind of narration and story in Ukraine. I mean, in the right time and right country about it. I mean, to speak about this kind of dilemmas which were at that time at least not really. I mean, they were still not discussed. I think, of course, speaking about this film in the theater play from nowadays perspective, it's different because many things has changed in Ukraine since 24th of February last year. But I think I don't know if I answered your question, but I think it was really a unique combination of characters we met and the time and moment that they were also absolutely open and ready to cooperation with us. And we are still in contact with them. I mean, it's another topic about what they are doing right now, but which we can also discuss.
I was wondering about the scenes you had with the family. It was actually something we talked a little about. Did you have any boundaries set with the actors when you were filming the family?
No, not at all. Like, actually, because you have to imagine that we shot these scenes with the family after the whole stage performance,
Okay.
and we already were in very good contact with them, and so they were somehow, I mean, at least the protagonists somehow get used to the camera very well, and they knew that you know, that some moments on stage they were like just very emotional. So I think with this experience, when they enter, you know, I mean, again met with the parents, and the parents were also open, and they start to speak about some topic they for example, like Katya and her mother, they never discussed before. So that's why how this kind of unique atmosphere.
Yeah, it was
just-
also funny with Rodion when his
Yeah,
mom was
okay.
talking about the rain that washes all away and then it started raining and it was like, who directed that?
Nobody, yeah, just just like in every documentary film, you have to have some luck to make it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I had this very burning question because there's a really big theme in the film about deconstructing terrorism, and you see it also. I think every character at some point touches it in one way or another. Was this a deliberate choice you had in the film, or was it like an organic result from the interaction between them and their own experiences?
It was kind of mix of different things, because if you ask me like straight like this, I would probably say no. It was just developed like it was. But on the other hand, I have to say that we also construct the situation. So we asked Rosa Sarkisian to be the director. We also met with some other directors, and also we like that Rosa. She was not born in Ukraine. She was born in Armenia, in Karabakh. So she was herself. As a child, she had to escape in the late 80s from Armenia. I mean, at that time it was Soviet Union, but she escaped from Karabakh to Kharkiv, and so on one hand she had already this kind of feeling of being refugee or being at war or I mean without intellectual experience, but as a child, you have it just in your in you, it just stays in you, this kind of experience. But on the other hand, she was also not born. She was also a person who was not born in Ukraine, so her attitude towards the national symbols was also different. It was also not different of someone who I don't know. Of course, it's also very individual, in fact, but I'm just speaking about her own story, and I think creating this kind of combination, this different kind of people from Eastern Ukraine, from Western Ukraine, who are fighting and who are not fighting, or like having also, an Ukrainian feministic actress and the LGBTQ person from Donetsk who was at the same time refugee. It was already kind of mixture, and the Armenian director who moved to Ukraine as a refugee. It was also kind of a mixture of different people with different sides of this. What does it mean to fight for a country, to have a country? What does it mean these national symbols for us? And very often in the film, there is also this sentence which we repeat, I think, twice, and also from Rosa, she's saying like, look, we are all having the same passport, but we kind of, and we are also sharing generally the same idea of the country, but we are still discussing or quarreling in so many topics. So actually, I think coming back to your question again, I think that on one hand, everything happened organic on stage, but on another hand, choosing this kind of protagonist was also clear that this would be also a huge topic in the theater stage and in the process in the film, because we also represent very different views, all of them. And I remember that for example, when we were doing this casting or searching for protagonists, maybe it's even better, not casting, but we also knew that we don't want to have only war veterans from Donbass, because it would be like very one-dimensional. So it was also for us very important to have people who had completely different view or opinion about the war or different attitude. And so it was kind of at the end it was kind of experiment, like putting different people together on one theater stage and just observing with the camera what happened to the whole process. And there were some moments also where we were thinking, maybe they will never do it. Maybe they will never make this final performance. Maybe But at the end they did it, and I think this was a positive message of the film.
Coming back to the performance, one question we
Yes.
got from the public when we were sorting the technical details
Mm.
was if we can find it online or how can we watch it?
Yes, because it was pandemic time
Yeah.
when we were doing this. Because the plan was we have quite of I mean, the theater production itself. It was art dialogue from Kiev and Rosa. They also have quite great plans for the release of the play in Ukraine. So it was idea of not only showing this play in big theater on the big stages in Kiev, Kharkiv, or Lviv, but also I remember that we had plans. We had at the time plans to show this theater performance in Severodonetsk, in Mariupol.
Like to go on tour with the play?
Yeah,
Okay.
but because of the pandemic, it's never happened.
Mhm.
Because it was exactly the pandemic time, but there is an online version of the film, but not of the film, of the theater, of the stage performance, and because it was streamed on Facebook as a premiere in Ukraine, and I mean the best way to get it, I think, it would be to get in touch with Rosa Sarkisian, because this version, it was also one of the points, because Ukrainian culture, institutions supported also this this stage performance, and it was also one of the things that in the pandemic time it had to be online, and it was streamed online with quite quite good amount of viewers. I think on the day of premiere it was a couple of thousand people, and then it was grew up to, I think, 20,000 viewers, and it was also nominated for one of the most interesting cultural events during the pandemic time in Ukraine. And of course the stage performance is different than the movie. You have the same people but different stories, and Rosa is also not typical documentary theater director but post-documentary, so she was also kind of playing with this genre, and it's completely different work of art at the end. And so I think for those one who liked really the film, it would be maybe interesting to watch this stage performance, just to see something completely different done with the same people.
Okay, so we'll contact Rosa.
He's quite active on Facebook, so you can yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do we follow up with our questions?
If there's any questions
Yeah.
in the room, you're very much welcome to join us on this couch.
So, does anyone want to ask anything?
How should you ask? So can
You have to come here, so
And
Piotr
it's just-
or you can just say it to us. You choose. If you want Piotr to see your face, you can.
Okay. Okay, I can down.
Yeah.
It's very cozy. So, hello, thank you so much
Hi.
for this movie, and I would say it really, well, it made me feel like I want to stay in some calm place for some time and just think about what was shown, and like not really discuss it right away, because it gives you so much different thoughts and raises so many emotions, and it's really a great movie. So thank you so much, first of all. And well, my question is that what I heard in this movie, and I heard it also from my friend from Luhansk, because I'm also from Ukraine, but I'm not from the eastern Ukraine. I'm from Kiev, and my friend is from Luhansk. And I heard this phrase from her that she said, like, I hate heroism, and I hate being called a hero or stuff like that. And this is the same, well, very similar to what I heard from Rodion in this movie. And even though he was not fighting, he is not a soldier. And also similar phrase I heard from Katya, and she said, like, they are calling us heroes and they are sending us to war. So in your place of heroism or this, like, in this movie or in the play at the same time? So what's the place of this heroism? Also, maybe considering the situation which is unfolding right now in Ukraine. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot also for this complex question. I just mentioned that I remember that a couple of times we also had these comments that the viewers were not really ready to discuss the film straight after the screening, and that you need some time also to somehow digest this movie. But you know, this question about the heroism is very complex, and also I think one thing what we have to make clear is that we shot this film before the 24th of February last year, and it was also a different situation. It was also more, let's say, like much more full of many different attitudes in Ukraine, and we also met people who were in Ukraine. I mean, who were saying to us that, why are you doing this film and inviting and speaking about the war? I mean, this is such an old kind of topic, and we have to think about the future. I mean, so the attitude was also much more different and divided in the Ukrainian society right now, because the situation is it's tragic right now, and you have to be united, and you have to, I mean, represent the or support these national values, because there is a country which wants to destroy you. So I think it's completely different situation right now. But at that time it was really a big discussion about what does it mean to be a hero, or sometimes even the people like Katya who were volunteers who went to fight to Lugansk or or in Donetsk or Donbass, in the Donbass region. They were saying that many people they not really appreciate their contribution. They were just not aware, or they don't want to think too much about it. I remember that it was for many of the veterans like very painful topic, because you asking yourself for whom you are doing this. If many people not really appreciate your, I mean, there were many people died before the full-scale invasion, and there were people who even in Kiev, I remember, they didn't really know where exactly is the border, or which parts are under which control, because they just because it was changing, and you just at one point you stopped following up, because we were busy with some other things. So I think this or maybe even make my answer more complicated, and also say that when we were working on this project and searching for some inspirations, not only from Hamlet, there is also also a theater play which is based on Hamlet. It's written by East German theater maker called Heine Müller, and it's called Hamlet Maschine. I know if you heard about it. It's mainly known among the theater people from the theater circles, but it's very much, I mean, skeptical. It's also about the revolution, but it's it's also saying that that everything's very let's say relative what happened, and I think that there is no. I mean, that's why I'm speaking so long about it, saying about these different views, because I think there is no one clear answer for that. It always depends from the context in which you are discussing everything. I can tell you that, for example, the film was ready. It was almost ready, actually, almost ready before the full-scale invasion. I remember that on the day of the invasion, Oksana also called us and says that that she disagreed with her statements in the film, because she said now everything changed so much that she would never say this what she's saying right now. But we said, but Oksana, but it was a different situation actually. You can't really you can't really change it, because it was for me. I remember when we had theatrical distribution in Poland, when I was speaking about this moment of the release of the film and about this, what is the film about? For me, sometimes I was mentioning that for the viewers in Poland, of course, but imagine that you are watching a film which was shot in Poland, like 2 months before the German invasion in 1939. So everything has changed, suddenly and drastically after this moment, and also another story from the preparation from the shooting of the film and preparation of the theater play. And if I'm not mistaken, 24th, it's Ukrainian Independence Day, right? 24th, yeah. And we were shooting at that time, and there was also a big parade of veterans in Kiev on Kreszczatyk, and only Katya was ready to wear her uniform and go there. I mean, Slavic and the Roman, they said, we are not going there. It's nothing for us. And I think it also says something, about this. What does it mean to be a hero? When or how, or how you, as a hero, are also, dealing with this. It's very relevant and very individual at the end, I think. And that's why also we kept in the film this scene with the flag on the preparation, also at the end on stage, just to show only a bit variety about how different emotional attitudes can happen only around this couple of people, and not to speak about the whole Ukrainian society.
Thank you for the answer. Is there anyone else with a question or with a curiosity? A last question from the public? We had a first time?
No.
Okay. Do you want to ask something? Or I want to ask something. Yeah. I was wondering if you're still in contact with everybody from the crew? Yeah? Are they well?
Yes.
How are they doing?
Yes. I mean, we are in contact with all of them. We also have been in Ukraine in December. We had a screening there as a part of Doku Days, one in Kiev, one in Lviv. And at the end of the film there is this short one sentence about all of them, and so I will not speak about all of them, but I will maybe tell you shortly that these three, Katya, Roman, and Slavic, they were fighting before, and now they are also part of the Ukrainian army, and each of them participate in the fightings. And I think in the most difficult situation is now Roman, who is around Bakhmut, and he's as a combat medic confronted every day with dying or heavy wounded soldiers, and it's since the beginning of the war, and we are in contact with them, and especially recently also with Roman. Elwira was speaking with him even today, and she also organized lots of humanitarian and military transports to them, because the film was shown in many different places, and after the screening, especially in Germany, she's trying to collect money to support our protagonists. So this is also something like I think the unique thing about making documentary films, because when you are ready with a fiction film, your characters are on the screen and that's it. But in documentary, they are still somewhere in their lives, and you can't just forget them, and on the other hand, the viewers can also participate in it. They also can donate something, you know, which was sent directly to Katia or to Roman, you know, to their battalions, and yes, so they are all well, but in many different conditions, and only Oksana made it to Poland to leave Ukraine, and 4 of others, they are there on a different in different places in a different situation, and Roman is in the most difficult one, I think, right now. I don't know if after the movie was this short video message from Roman. Okay, yeah. So you could see it was shot. I think end of September, beginning of October, and since then he's in the area. You know, he was at that time more north, and now he's in very close to Bakhmut. You know, one of the unit which is very, you know, on the very first rows of the front line.
Well, we wish him well, and Slava Ukraina. I hope we can maybe have a talk with the crew someday soon. Physical talk. Maybe they could come to Chișinău when the war ends and
have the
Sure.
play.
and maybe stage the play. Yeah, we could find some.
I think it would be. I don't know. It's difficult now to think about, you know, to make a plans about the future. But I think I remember that some of them, I mean, at least Rosa, Slavik, and Oksana, they have a chance to be part of discussion after the screenings, because they were. I mean, Rosa and Oksana, they were in Poland, so they could travel, and Slavik got official permission to leave Ukraine for a couple of weeks. And I also seen, you know, how important it was for them also to be to speak about it, and so I mean, sure, I mean, as far as it would be possible, I think it would be really pleasure for them to either to show you again the film or the stage performance, or from video version, or I don't know, everything is possible. I mean, I think the most important is that we should come back to the moment where we could plan anything with them together, because now it's of course impossible.
Yeah. Piotr, thank you a lot for your time, for sharing it with us and answering our questions.
Thanks a lot for
sharing it.
Yeah. I remember that I've been only once in Moldova, I think 15 years ago, so.
Well, things change, you can visit.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward also.
We have a hand raised in the public.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. We'll say our goodbyes again really soon.
Okay.
Hi. It's also more a thought than a question.
Yeah.
I was trying to formulate a question out of it. I will try. So towards the end of the film, one of the actors says that lost words are losing their meaning, and you can say many words, but you don't say anything of essence or something in that regard. And it was striking for me, because theater and film, they are based on words. I mean, of course, you have the visual part as well, and the non-verbal communication. So the question for me is like, how can foreigners speak about war in Ukraine, or about the situation that is going on? And have you been confronted with this? How do you approach? Like, how do you engage in a foreign context to you when you try to work on an artistic endeavor? I don't know. Does it make sense?
Yes. I mean, it's also a kind of complex question, but on one hand, maybe I can answer for the first part. So I think that But as a foreigner, of course, it's also a bit more difficult to make a film in a different country, especially in a country, which is facing some kind of political, turmoil or changing moment, or some kind of. But on the other hand, as a foreigner, you have unique distance to the situation which is going on. So you are not involved in this or another group. You are neither from Kiev, not from Lviv, nor from Donetsk. You are someone who is from abroad. So not really attached to any of this direct parties of the political conflict. But on the other hand, you are lacking also many of the context. But that's why it always costs lots of time to make kind of films, because you have to get to know everything together. But on the other hand, also, which is more so I think it has these two sides. One is this distance, which is advantage, and one this is lacking of knowledge, which is maybe disadvantage. But if you can balance them, I think then you could really probably make something unique. We also made with Elwira one film in Abkhazia, in this rebel Georgian Republic in South Caucasus, and it was very important that we were foreigners because we could really have a kind of unique insight into some kind of process there. But never mind. But I think what is more complex, it's also the role of artists in some kind of this difficult political situation, because I think probably you know the stories of many other Ukrainian filmmakers that they somehow divide themselves in many different decisions. Like some of them they quit making art, they just start to be soldiers or start to work with the humanitarian aid organization. But others, they start to use their skill to make something what would also be important in this situation. And I think in this case, when we start to work on this film, it was, as I told you, 2017 and 2018, with this feeling that we have to put more attention on what's going on in Ukraine, because Ukraine, especially in Central and Western Europe, was a couple of years after Maidan was somehow forgotten, and we are thinking that maybe with this film we could attract more attention about the current situation there, about the ongoing war in Donbass, about the somehow a bit lost generation of Maidan. But then, everything changed completely last year, and the film started to be kind of vehicle or tool to support Ukraine right now, or fighting there, especially our protagonists, and to kind of encourage people to support direct humanitarian aid to Ukraine, and also to speak about, for example, like in Germany, there was a big discussion about German engagement in the conflict and about the military help, and the film was also part of the discussion, so I think it's a kind of at the end, I think it's a kind of a moral question of every artist, how much he or she wanted to engage yourself in some kind of process, and how much what she or he is doing, can be used also for, not only for being shown at the festivals or art galleries, or to show for the elite, but also to have some kind of message, and try to make kind of social change or change of thinking about some particular topic, I think.
But you were never told, like, what right do you have to do this film, you're not Ukrainian, or something like that?
No, I think it was just opposite. I think many people were very happy that you are coming from abroad and you want to tell us our story and show it also to people in Poland, in Germany, in other countries. So they were like welcoming us, with this idea. So I think it was also motivating us to do it, because we also had the feeling, okay, for Ukrainian people it's important that we are coming there with the camera, and we want to tell about their problems.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Anyone else? No? So we had the first and the last question. Yeah. So we're gonna end it here, Piotr. Thank you a lot
Thanks a lot.
for your presence here on a big wall. And yeah, I hope to see you again, to meet you.
Yeah, best of luck
Yeah.
with all the projects with Elwira and Solo.
Thank you. Yeah. So if you finally decide to come back to Moldova, I will write you an email. So
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
that's great.
we meet in person.
And send a big hug to everybody.
We have a
in the
big
crew.
documentary film festival here.
Our very first film was shown, but I heard that this festival doesn't exist anymore. It was this Koronograph film festival. I remember that it was a couple of years ago. Okay, so thanks for the screening and for this online discussion, and yeah, I hope to come back to Moldova and to meet you in real.